The idea that anatomically modern humans appeared suddenly in the fossil and genetic record around 200,000 years ago, carrying with them fully formed physical and cognitive traits, challenges one of the most deeply held assumptions about our past. When we look closely at the evidence available today, genetic markers, fossil discoveries, and the emerging patterns hidden within ancient DNA, we find a story that is far more intriguing than a slow and gradual transformation. Instead of witnessing small, incremental changes accumulating over vast stretches of time, we encounter a moment when beings who look, think, feel, and dream exactly as we do appear almost instantly on the stage of Earth's history. This sudden emergence raises profound questions about the forces and processes that shaped us and invites us to reconsider the very foundations of our identity. When scientists map the human genome and compare it with that of earlier hominins, they discover a striking pattern. Modern humans possess a set of genetic traits that did not exist in the ancestors traditionally placed along our evolutionary path. These traits include neurological features responsible for language, empathy, imagination, and symbolic thinking. They also include changes associated with our immune system, muscle structure, and fine motor skills. What makes this so remarkable is not only the uniqueness of these traits, but the way they appear all at once. This is not what we expect from typical evolutionary processes, which generally operate through slow, incremental modifications passed down through countless generations. Instead, it resembles a leap, a rapid shift in biological potential that rewrites the narrative we've long accepted. In the fossil record, the same pattern emerges. Before this moment, we see various hominin species with different combinations of traits, some with robust bodies but small brains, others with limited tool use, still others capable of only rudimentary symbolic behavior. Then, seemingly without a transitional phase bridging these vast differences, anatomically modern humans arrive. They possess the same cranial capacity as contemporary humans. Their skeletal structure matches ours so closely that, if clothed in modern attire and placed among us today, they would not stand out. Even their behavior, inferred from archaeological sites, reveals an intelligence and self-awareness indistinguishable from our own. This suddenness suggests something profound. The forces shaping human emergence may not be solely the result of natural selection responding to random environmental pressures. Instead, the appearance of modern humans seems intentional, as if a blueprint that had been waiting quietly beneath the surface suddenly activated. We find evidence of advanced symbolic expression, cave art, personal ornaments, ritual practices, appearing alongside the very first anatomically modern humans. Their minds were not evolving toward creativity, they already had it. Their capacity for complex emotions was not emerging, it was present from the beginning. It is as though the full spectrum of human potential, our intuition, our capacity for connection, our ability to imagine worlds beyond the physical, was encoded within us from the start. This raises a powerful question: what could cause such a leap? Some scientists point toward genetic anomalies, sudden mutations, or environmental bottlenecks. Yet these explanations struggle to account for the coordinated nature of the changes. Random processes rarely produce such harmony. Others suggest that ancient hominins interbred in a way that accelerated development. But even hybridization cannot fully explain the precision and completeness of the transformation. What emerges instead is a picture of human origins that hints at purpose. Something guided the emergence of modern humans, something that bridged biology and consciousness, matter and meaning. As we examine mitochondrial DNA, which traces maternal lineage, and Y chromosome DNA, which traces paternal lineage, both lines converge on a time frame remarkably close to this 200,000-year mark. This convergence points to a genetic bottleneck, a moment when the human population was reduced to a very small number of individuals who carried the blueprint for what we would become. From this small group, all modern humans emerged. That too is unusual. Species rarely reduce to such small numbers without losing genetic diversity, yet humans display the opposite pattern. We emerged from that moment with new abilities, new neurological structures, and new potential. This is yet another indication that something purposeful may have been at work. Imagine the implications of this. It means that who we are now, our capacity for love, creativity, innovation, spirituality, compassion was present at the beginning of our story, not the end. These capacities were not earned through the struggle for survival. They were gifts woven into our design from the outset. They are not adaptations but inheritances. And if we are born with these abilities, then the real purpose of our journey is not to acquire them, but to remember and express them. This perspective reshapes our understanding of history. It suggests that early humans were not primitive beings struggling to make sense of their environment, but conscious, intuitive individuals capable of profound insight. Their art was not naive, it was symbolic. Their rituals were not superstition, they were expressions of understanding. Their connection to the natural world was not fear-driven, it was relational and intelligent. The sudden appearance of modern humans becomes not a biological event alone, but a moment of awakening. The more we study the evidence, the more we see that our origins are not an accident. We are not the result of randomness, but of intention. Our ancestors stepped onto the earth with everything they needed: the ability to create, the desire to connect, the hunger for meaning, and the capacity to navigate both the physical and the spiritual dimensions of existence. The appearance of anatomically modern humans 200,000 years ago is a reminder that our story began not with limitation but with potential. It began with a spark of consciousness already burning brightly within us. As we explore this understanding, we are invited to reconsider what it means to be human. We are not merely biological organisms evolving toward higher forms. We are beings who arrived with the ability to shape reality, to experience deep emotion, to create culture, to seek truth, and to understand ourselves as part of a larger, interconnected universe. Our origins tell us that the extraordinary qualities we carry are not accidents of nature, but essential components of who we are. The sudden appearance of modern humans challenges the conventional narrative, but it also empowers us. It reminds us that the abilities we often regard as extraordinary, intuition, compassion, creativity, self-awareness, are not the exceptions of our biology. They are the very foundation of it. When we look back 200,000 years, we are not observing the emergence of primitive beings. We are witnessing the arrival of us, fully formed, deeply capable, and carrying within us the seeds of everything we would one day become. The idea that the sudden appearance of anatomically modern humans challenges the traditional slow, step-by-step evolutionary timeline invites us to question assumptions that have shaped scientific thinking for more than a century. The conventional narrative tells us that human beings emerged through a gradual series of small changes, each building upon the last, eventually leading from primitive ancestors to the complex, conscious beings we are today. This model, built on the principles of Darwinian evolution, suggests that everything about us, our intelligence, our emotional depth, our creativity, our ability to communicate, and our capacity for introspection, was shaped through countless incremental adaptations over millions of years. Yet when we examine the evidence with fresh eyes, we find that the timeline does not fit the story. Instead of slow and steady progression, we encounter a sudden leap, a moment when fully modern humans appear without a clear, gradual pathway leading to them. This abrupt emergence disrupts the core of the evolutionary timeline and forces us to reconsider the mechanisms that brought us into being. The challenge begins with the fossil record. For decades, scientists expected to find transitional forms, stepwise anatomical changes linking earlier hominins to modern humans. These transitional forms should show clear, progressive transformations in skull shape, brain size, face structure, vocal apparatus, hands, and upright posture. Yet, when we look closely, these intermediate stages are either absent, incomplete, or too inconsistent to form a coherent chain. Earlier hominins such as Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and even Neanderthals display combinations of traits that differ significantly from modern humans. Their skulls are thicker and differently shaped, their brains structured uniquely, their bodies adapted to different environments, and their behavior patterns far removed from the symbolic thinking and emotional complexity seen in Homo sapiens. Then, around 200,000 years ago, modern humans appear with all the traits we possess today. No clear transitional population bridges the gap. Instead of gradual refinement, we see a discontinuity. This discontinuity is not limited to physical traits. The traditional evolutionary timeline expects cognitive abilities to emerge gradually, with early humans slowly developing language, symbolic thought, creativity, and emotional intelligence. But the archaeological evidence suggests that the first modern humans did not learn these capacities over tens of thousands of years. They already had them. We see evidence of sophisticated tool-making, ritual behavior, personal adornments, and symbolic art emerging very early in the timeline, often at sites associated with the earliest Homo sapiens. These expressions of advanced cognition appear far too suddenly to fit the model of slow evolutionary refinement. It is as if the capacity for abstract thought, imagination, and cultural expression emerged fully formed rather than inching forward through countless generations. Even more striking is the genetic evidence. When researchers analyze the human genome, they find abrupt genetic changes that do not correspond to a slow evolutionary process. Certain genes responsible for brain development, neural wiring, language capability, and fine motor control appear rapidly and concurrently. These genes distinguish modern humans not only from earlier hominins, but from every other species on Earth. The traditional evolutionary model offers no smooth pathway to account for the coordinated emergence of such complex traits. Random mutations are typically isolated and incremental, yet the genetic changes that define modern humans seem synchronized, purposeful, and rapid. This pattern is inconsistent with the slow, branching tree of evolution and instead resembles an unexpected jump in genetic potential. The traditional timeline also assumes that evolutionary changes occur due to environmental pressures acting on populations over long periods. Yet the sudden emergence of modern humans does not correspond to any major environmental shift. There is no catastrophic climate event, no drastic ecological transformation, and no significant environmental threat that would have forced early humans to evolve so quickly. If anything, the environment 200,000 years ago was relatively stable in many regions where early Homo sapiens appear. Without a driver for change, the rapid emergence of advanced traits becomes even more difficult to explain through the lens of natural selection. Furthermore, the presence of multiple hominin species living simultaneously complicates the timeline. According to the traditional evolutionary model, earlier hominins should gradually give rise to more advanced forms, eventually leading to modern humans. But instead of a clean progression, we find a mosaic of species coexisting at the same time, each with different anatomical and cognitive traits. Some species, like Neanderthals, possessed large brains but lacked certain symbolic capacities. Others, like Homo erectus, persisted for far longer than expected if evolution were a simple, linear ladder. Modern humans suddenly appear not as the inevitable product of this sequence, but as an entirely distinct form emerging alongside other hominins, rather than from them. This parallel coexistence undermines the idea of a single evolutionary line culminating in us. The traditional timeline also faces difficulty explaining the uniformity of modern humans. If our traits evolved gradually through regional populations, we would expect significant anatomical or genetic differences among early human groups across continents. Yet modern humans display remarkable genetic unity, indicating a common origin from a very small founding population. This contradicts the expectation of slow, regionally driven evolution and supports the idea of a sudden emergence from a single point of origin. The rapid spread of humans across the globe further challenges the timeline, as early Homo sapiens demonstrate advanced planning, navigation, and social cooperation almost immediately after appearing. Taken together, these inconsistencies suggest that the slow evolutionary timeline is not sufficient to explain our origin. Instead of a gradual build-up, the evidence points toward a moment of rapid transformation, whether genetic, cognitive, or symbolic, that brought forth a species unlike any that came before. This does not mean evolution did not occur, but it does indicate that evolution alone may not account for the full complexity of modern humans. Something accelerated, guided, or shaped our emergence in a way that traditional models cannot easily reconcile. This abrupt appearance challenges not only scientific assumptions but also cultural ones. For generations, we have been taught a story of slow, linear progress from primitive beings to sophisticated humans. But the evidence suggests that our arrival was not a climb from ignorance, but an awakening into capability. The suddenness of our emergence implies that the traits defining humanity, consciousness, empathy, creativity, intuition, moral reasoning, were present from our inception, not developed as afterthoughts. This realization reframes what it means to be human. It suggests that our essence was intentional, our abilities innate, and our potential extraordinary from the very beginning. When we step back and examine all the evidence with an open mind, the picture becomes clear. The traditional slow evolutionary timeline cannot fully explain the abrupt and complete appearance of modern humans. Our origins point toward a deeper mystery, a leap in potential, a moment when the human story unfolded in a way that defies conventional expectations. It invites us to explore new possibilities, new interpretations, and new understandings of who we are and how we came to be, reminding us that the human journey may be far more extraordinary than we have yet imagined. The possibility that a purposeful or directed influence played a role in human origins suggests that humans were designed with innate capacities for consciousness, intuition, compassion, and creativity, challenging the idea that these qualities developed slowly through survival-driven evolution. When we examine the full range of uniquely human traits, we find a pattern that points toward intention rather than accident. These traits are not simply advantageous for physical survival, they extend far beyond what natural selection typically shapes. They give us the ability to imagine realities that do not yet exist, to feel empathy for people we have never met, to reflect upon our own existence, to create beauty for the sake of beauty, and to reach for meaning even in moments of great uncertainty. These are qualities that transcend biology, and their simultaneous appearance in early humans suggests that they were present from the start as part of our inherent design. If we consider consciousness, for example, we encounter one of the greatest mysteries in both science and philosophy. Consciousness allows us not only to perceive the world, but to interpret it, give it meaning, and transform it. It allows us to step outside our immediate experience and reflect upon it, imagining pasts we never lived and futures that have not yet occurred. The ability to envision possibilities beyond the present moment is not easily explained as a survival mechanism. It suggests an inner architecture designed for exploration, growth, and awareness. Consciousness seems to emerge all at once in early humans, reflected in the sudden appearance of symbolic behavior, complex language, and spiritual expression. These capacities imply more than instinct. They point toward intention, as if our minds were prepared to operate not only in the physical realm, but also in realms of thought and meaning. Intuition offers another clue. This ability to know without logical steps, to sense what cannot be directly observed, and to feel truth before it can be proven scientifically is not a trait associated with random mutation. Intuition acts as a bridge between the conscious and subconscious mind, allowing humans to respond to complexity in ways that exceed analytical reasoning. Early humans used intuition to navigate landscapes, understand relationships within tribes, sense danger, and connect with the natural world. Today, intuition continues to guide creativity, innovation, and emotional connection. It appears to be an intrinsic part of the human design, an internal compass built into our awareness. Such a sophisticated capacity, arising fully formed at the beginning of the human story, implies that we were shaped with a kind of inner guidance system that natural selection alone cannot easily account for. Compassion, too, stands apart from traits strictly tied to survival. While social cooperation has evolutionary benefits, compassion goes far beyond cooperation. It allows us to feel another's suffering as our own, to act selflessly without reward, and to care for individuals who cannot return the favor. Early evidence of caring for the sick and elderly appears in the archaeological record, right alongside the arrival of modern humans. This suggests that compassion was not learned slowly as a strategy for group survival, but existed as a built-in part of human nature. Compassion enables us to bond deeply, to form families, communities, and societies grounded in mutual support. It reflects a level of connectedness that surpasses biological necessity. It implies that the human experience was meant to include an awareness of shared existence, an emotional blueprint that draws us toward unity rather than isolation. Creativity is another powerful example. The moment modern humans appear, so do symbols, art, ritual music, and innovation. Creativity is not an adaptation for hunting, gathering, or physical survival. Instead, it speaks to an inner drive to express, explore, and transform. The earliest cave paintings are not random markings, they are remarkably intentional, symbolic, and multidimensional. Early humans created jewelry, painted their bodies, crafted ceremonial objects, and developed myths. These expressions reveal minds capable of abstraction, metaphor, and imagination. Creativity seems to be built into our biology, showing that we were designed not only to survive but to generate meaning, beauty, and possibility. Its presence at the very beginning of our existence indicates a deeper purpose for human life, one rooted in exploration, creation, and self-expression. When we gather these traits together, consciousness, intuition, compassion, creativity, we see a pattern far too coordinated to arise through chance. They form a constellation of abilities that work together to create an experience of life far richer than mere survival. They enable us to build civilizations, reflect on our place in the universe, seek truth, understand morality, and connect with one another on profound emotional and spiritual levels. These capacities appeared together, like an integrated system designed to function as one. This suggests that humans did not gradually stumble into their uniqueness. They emerged with it as part of their original blueprint. The idea of purposeful influence does not diminish science, it expands it. It invites us to look deeper into the forces shaping life and to recognize that biological systems may be guided by principles that extend beyond chemistry and physics. Purpose does not negate natural processes, it works through them. It suggests that the emergence of modern humans was not the result of randomness, but the unfolding of a deeper intention woven into the fabric of life. This intention reveals itself through the coherence of our traits, the timing of our appearance, and the extraordinary capacities we possess from the moment we step into the human story. This perspective also reshapes our understanding of ourselves. If we are designed with consciousness, intuition, compassion, and creativity from the beginning, then these qualities are not skills we must earn. They are gifts we must remember. They are natural to us, not exceptions. They define our potential and help us understand what it means to be human. They remind us that our lives are not accidents of nature, but expressions of something profound and purposeful. They call us to live in alignment with the deeper aspects of our design, to act with empathy, to think with awareness, to create with intention, and to trust the quiet wisdom within. The possibility of purposeful influence also points toward a deeper connection between humans and the universe. It suggests that we are not separate observers of a vast, indifferent cosmos, but active participants in a meaningful unfolding. Our ability to reflect, imagine, and create becomes a continuation of the creative force that shaped us. It implies that human life has direction, that our capacities have purpose, and that our existence is woven into a much larger story. As we consider this perspective, we are invited to re-examine our potential. Our traits are not random. They are signposts. They guide us toward empathy, cooperation, innovation, wisdom, and deep connection. They remind us that being human is not simply about surviving, but about awakening to the fullness of who we are.